The message today is, beloved community, love is the universal language. Beloved community, as an understanding shared by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who used his leadership and wisdom for the African-American-led civil rights movement of the 20th century, King was able to weave his Boston theological education of systematic theology, Hindu ancient wisdom learned from Mohandas K. Gandhiji, and the translative interpretation of the spiritual revolutionary Rabbi Yeshua of Nazareth, also known as Jesus the Christ, found in Christian scripture. From the Peshitta, the Christian scriptures in the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 22, verse 37 to 40, Yeshua was asked, and he said to him, "Love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your mind. This is the greatest and first commandment. And the second is like unto it. Love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang the law and the prophets." Shalom. Beloved, our good news message of love, being the universal language, manifests through compassion and the language of compassion, where justice rains down like waters and peace is an ever-flowing stream, loving stream. Philosopher, theologian Josiah Royce founded the Fellowship of Reconciliation. He first coined beloved community in the early part of the 20th century. It was King, also a member of he was also a member of the Fellowship of Reconciliation, who popularized the term, weaved its inter-spiritual, inter-religious meaning to incorporate, capture the imagination of all of the American people, all global citizens of goodwill and compassionate agape love. Beloved community is not a lofty utopian goal confused with the rapturous image of the peaceable kingdom in which lions and lambs lie down together in idyllic harmony. Beloved community is a realistic, achievable goal attained by a critical mass of peoples committed to the virtue of universal, compassionate, agape love, spiritual love that virtues divine benevolence for all human beings. King's beloved community is a global vision in which all people share in Mother Earth's abundance. All are accepted at the Creator's love feast table. In beloved community, poverty, hunger, homelessness, houselessness are not accepted because the inherent worth and dignity of every human being would not allow it. We honor all beings. All forms of oppression are replaced by an inclusive spirit of loving one's neighbor in beloved community. International disputes are resolved by peaceful resolution and reconciliation. Love and trust triumph over fear, intimidation, hatred. Virtuous peace and justice prevail. King's beloved community is not devoid of interpersonal, group, or international tension. Instead, King recognize that yes, there will be tension. Of course, it is an inevitable part of our human experience. King believed tension could be peaceably resolved and adversaries reconciled through a mutual commitment to nonviolence and recognizing every human being's imago Dei, divine image, from the Latin. No tension need erupt in violence. Tensions in beloved community and with truth and reconciliation of human beings, cooperating together in an ultimate embrace of agape love. In 1956, King speaks of beloved community as the end goal of nonviolent boycotts protesting American racial apartheid. He said in a speech at a rally following the announcement of a favorable U.S. Supreme Court decision desegregating the bus seats in Montgomery, Alabama, the end is reconciliation. The end is redemption. The end is the creation of beloved community. You'll hear this again, beloved community, and repeat with me as you hear it. King offers, quote, "It is this type of spirit and this type of love that can transform opposers into friends. It is this type of understanding, goodwill, that will transform the deep gloom of the old age into the exuberant gladness of the new age. It is this love which will bring about miracles in the hearts of men," end quote. Repeat with me. Love is the greatest and first commandment. Love is the greatest and first commandment. Shalom. A student of Mohandas K. Gandhiji, King was impressed with his ability to befriend adversaries, most of whom professed profound admiration for Gandhiji's courage and intellect. King believed that the age-old tradition of hating one's opponents was not only immoral, but it's poor strategy. It's poor strategy which perpetuated the cycle of revenge, retaliation, and it is only through nonviolence, he believed, had the power to break the cycle of retributive violence, creating lasting peace through reconciliation. Beloveds, may I suggest to you that it is incumbent upon us to get ready for universal love. In a 1957 speech, Birth of a New Nation, King said, quote, "The aftermath of nonviolence is the creation of beloved community." Are you with me? The aftermath of nonviolence is redemption. The aftermath of nonviolence is reconciliation. The aftermath of violence is emptiness, bitterness. In King's first book, Stride Toward Freedom, he reiterates nonviolence in attaining beloved community. In other words, my friends, King says, our ultimate goal is integration, which is genuine intergroup and interpersonal living. Only through nonviolence can this goal be attained. For the aftermath of nonviolence is reconciliation and the creation of beloved community. In Dr. King's 1959 sermon On Gandhiji, King elaborated on the after effects of choosing nonviolence over violence. Quote, "The aftermath of nonviolence is the creation of beloved community, so that when the battle is all over, a new relationship comes into being for the oppressed and the oppressor," end of quote. He contrasted violence with nonviolent resistance to oppression. The way of acquiescence, he says, leads to moral and spiritual suicide. The way of violence leads to bitterness in the survivors and brutality in the destroyers. But the way of nonviolence leads to redemption and the creation of beloved community. You'll get it. The core value of the quest of Dr. King's beloved community is agape love. King distinguished between the three kinds of love: eros, philia, and agape. Philia is the affection between friends. Eros is a sort of aesthetic, romantic love. Agape, which he described, understanding, redeeming goodwill for all. Understanding, redeeming goodwill for all. He goes on, an overflowing love, which is purely spontaneous, unmotivated, groundless, and creative. The love of God operating in the human heart. King said that agape does not begin by discriminating between worthy and unworthy people. It begins by loving others for their sakes and makes no distinction between a friend and an enemy. It is directed toward both. Agape is seeking love to preserve and create community. In his 1963 sermon, Loving Your Enemies, King addressed the role of unconditional love. With every ounce of our energy, we must continue to rid this nation of the incubus of segregation. But we shall not, in the process, relinquish our privilege and our obligation to love. While abhorring segregation, we shall love the segregationist. This is the only way to create the beloved community. One expression of agape love in King's beloved community is justice. Not for any one oppressed group, but for all people. King often said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. He felt justice need not be practiced out or parceled out to individuals or group, but it is the birthright of every human being. I have fought too, he says, long and hard against segregated public accommodations to end up segregating my moral concerns, he said. Justice is indivisible. He means justice cannot be divided. As we reflect upon the call for beloved community and the core virtue of agape love, let us be reminded that forgiveness, healing, and reconciliation knocks. Beloveds, love is the greatest and first commandment. Shalom.